And good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Pastor Adonia, if you don't know me. And I'm going, my topic is a frequently repeated phrase from the Bible: fear not. And I'm going to start a little bit off just from sharing about myself and my personal experience. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm not a fast learner. You know, people put that on their resumes, like I'm a fast learner. I pick up things really quickly. Like, I couldn't do that. I'm not a fast learner. And I am a slow processor. It takes me actually a long time for me to understand what I'm feeling. Why am I feeling it? Where did that come from? I might be feeling off one day, and it will take me like 3 more days to figure out why I was feeling off 3 days ago. Unsurprisingly, it took me like 35 years to figure out that I am a slow processor. On the positive side, I also am slow to make a decision and come to a commitment. But when I do, I'm there. And I'm 100% there. So I'm not a volatile person. I don't go up and down quickly. I go up and down very slowly, very gradually. But something that I realize is, now that I've finally figured out that I figure out things slowly. I ran a school for 5 years, and we closed in December. It's February now, and I'm just starting to figure out my feelings around all of it. Only just been able to start talking to Mike about it. A lot of you have asked me how I'm feeling, and I'm like, I don't have anything for you. I don't really know. But at the same time, there's a lot of other changes going on in our life. You know, we've recently moved. One of the big changes, we were just talking about this yesterday, is our kids are growing up. The boys are 16. Mia is almost 14, and she has already researched and learned that she can get a job at Chick-fil-A at 14 years old. And she is ready and raring to go. But with this comes the reality that they're starting to make decisions about their life and how their life is going to go, what they want to do and what they don't want to do. 2 days ago, Aiden, rather out of the blue, announced that he was done with martial arts. And he's been doing martial arts for 8 years. He's a 2nd-degree black belt. And I'm not, I actually made them. They said they wanted to quit like 4 or 5 years ago, and I was like, you are going to make it to black belt. I'm not going to make you do many things in your life, but you're this close. I'm not going to let you quit until you do. And then when they got there, they got re-inspired. They've been going for like another 4 years, but I wouldn't be truthful if I didn't say I was a little bit sad or disappointed or just surprised. Yeah, the things that they want to do, it's not necessarily bad, but it's maybe different from what we're used to. It's a change. Maybe not what I would choose for them, and it's uncomfortable. I remember reading an article, this is a long time ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I came across this article about the different types of stressors in our life. And it was the first time that I've always thought of stressors as being bad things. Like, you lose your job, that's a stressor. If you get sick, that's a stressor. But this article, I said that pretty much any major life event has a toll on you, even if it's something wonderful. Getting married is actually a stressor. Having a baby can be a stressor. So I have a list. I couldn't find the article. There's buried under hundreds of other articles about stress. But these are the things that I remember about it. These are the major stressors in our life. Marriage, separation or divorce, a birth in the family, a death in the family, getting a new job, losing a job, or retirement, moving, major home damage or renovation, financial hardship, and health challenges. And in the article, it said, these are normal things in life, but once you start compounding them, if 2 or 3 of these things happen in the course of a year, there will be results, and not necessarily good ones. There will be either mental challenges or physical challenges that arise from more than 2 to 3 of these events taking place in the course of a year. And these are just personal life events. It's not considering things that might be happening in our larger community, in our whole church, or in the nation, or in the world. And I remember at that time thinking, I had just had Annalise, and I think I listed off like 3 of those, and I was like, oh, that's why I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. But I know that I know many of you, and I know the things that are going on in your lives to some degree or other. And I can say that most of us have had 2 to 3 of these things happen in the last year, right? Many families have just moved here. I know you're going through the challenges of figuring out life in a new place. Many of you have had a baby in the last year or are pregnant. Many of you have lost someone that's close to you. Many of you have lost or gotten new jobs. All of these things are big things. But what do we do with it? I remember when I first read this article and I was like, oh, that's me. I was like, what do I do? Just like roll over and accept that I'm like, my fate is to be stressed out? That didn't sound good. Do I just wallow in self-pity and drown in my stress because that is my reality? No, how can we move through challenging times in our lives and come out better on the other side? So I have 2 things that I have to offer. And this doesn't include your own, I think for a lot of people, it's things like eating healthy, working out, different things. But I have 2 major things that I think are actually absolutely crucial in managing stress and not just seeing it as something that's happening to you, but actually growing through it and finding blessings. And the first one is what we in our faith call the horizontal level. And I know that many times in our faith we tend to focus totally on the vertical, like that is most important. And it is, because without the vertical, the horizontal gets shaky. But you can't have vertical without the horizontal. That's what holds you steady when the rest of the world is shaking. So the first thing I have is connection. Having positive give and take with people who can understand you, who can support you, and who can uplift you. Just yesterday, I had this experience. I woke up feeling overwhelmed. And being me, I don't know why I'm feeling overwhelmed. Took me a while to figure it out. But then I realized, oh, this is Saturday. And I had, like a couple of weeks ago, I had scheduled a brunch with a friend for Saturday. And at that time, that was my plan for the day. somehow, in the course of the next week or so, other things got moved around, got rescheduled, and like multiple things ended up landing on Saturday. And it was just like not what I was expecting, and I was feeling overwhelmed by it. But I am learning my lessons, and so instead of being grouchy and angrily rage cleaning to get ready for all the things that I had to do and rushing out super early to go shopping for all the things that I had to buy, I've done this in the past, I went to my husband and I said, I'm feeling overwhelmed today. And this is why, and can I get some help? And he's so sweet. He said, what? Anything. What can I do? Oh. And so he started vacuuming, and he went out and bought the things that we needed for the day. And we went through all the events of the day, and it was not nearly as bad as I was. In fact, I enjoyed all of it. So for those of you that I saw yesterday, don't worry. You are not stressful. I thoroughly enjoyed your company. But I would not have been able to get there on my own. I had to go to people who understand me, who understand what my goals are, and who have the ability to support me. And it totally transformed my experience of the day. So we have absolutely amazing people in our community. And what is implied by the word community is that we are not alone. So sometimes we have to learn the lesson of being able to communicate, being able to reach out when we need help. But also on the other side, if I have the resources, if I have the time, if I have the mental space and energy to also reach out to others and see what I can do to help. But that is where so much of our strength comes from in our life. So that's tip number 1. We can't do it alone. But just like we need our horizontal, we also need our vertical. We need our vertical purpose and support. We need God. And I'm going to take it, before I take it to our personal application, I'm going to take it to the Bible. And in the Bible, whenever something really big and earth-shattering was happening, what often happened? An angel of the Lord would appear and say, "Fear not, I am with you," or "God is with you," or "You are in God's favor." So there's actually many, if you search these words in the Bible, there's many instances, but I'm pulling up a few. This is from Daniel. And Daniel, at this point in the Bible, had this terrifying, vivid vision of war and devastation and people dying in his country. And he was so distraught by it that he couldn't eat for 3 weeks. He couldn't take care of himself. It said he didn't use lotions. It's a different implication than it does today. But he couldn't take care of him. He could do nothing else but stress about this for 3 weeks straight. And then, let me make sure I don't miss something. And then an angel, he went to the banks of the Tigris River, and he's overwhelmed by this. And then an angel appears to him and says, "Fear not, Daniel. Since the first day that you set your mind to gain understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come in response to them." And then the angel goes on to describe in great detail all of the terrible things that will happen that he saw in his dream. And it's hard. It's God doesn't take away the problem. God doesn't take away the difficulties that we have to face. But at the end of it all, after he describes, and then the king of the south will come and attack the king of the north, and then the north will rebel, and then all these people are going to be killed in the process. But at the end, he says, just keep going, right? At the end of all of these things, you do what is right, and God will take care of you, and God will uplift you, and you will inherit this land. And that's a lot to hear. But it begins with fear not. This is a famous one. When Mary learned that you will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to call him Jesus, he will be great and be called the Son of the Most High. Right? She is trembling. But the angel says, do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God. And when the stone was rolled away from the tomb, and Mary Magdalene shows up to pay her respects, angels sitting there on the stone, it says, do not be afraid, fear not. For I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen. And these are basically earth-shattering moments that are changing the direction of history. Major events in biblical history. And so in some ways it's like, well, okay, but that was Jesus. Or that was Daniel. But God gives these words to us as well. This is a quote from our founder, True Father. God is near you. His concern for each of you exceeds that of anyone else. Everyone thinks that their own parents love them the most, but God's love is greater and deeper than that love. It is deeper and greater than any human love in this world. And so what I get from this is that God knows us intimately. God knows where we came from. God knows our history. God knows the traumas we faced. God knows when we've made our mistakes, we've lied or we've hidden things. He knows the challenges that we're facing. And he knows our reality of what we can and can't handle. But he also knows our purpose, and he knows what we need in order to get there. So God loves us deeply and is always working for our good, even when it doesn't feel like it. And I feel like that's our hard part, is to really to be present with that fact that God is loving me, even though these things are happening that I'm not comfortable with, that I don't like. It's easy for us in those moments to feel like, well, God's not here. And loving and knowing God doesn't mean that we don't face the hardships either. And the Bible says that very clearly, just like it did in Daniel. But this is another really famous one. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. So it's not like because I love you and I believe in you, I get to avoid the valley of the shadow of death. No, it's like even when I'm there, I know you're with me. I know you love me. And there's like a trust that has to be, it's like a leap of faith that has to be made at that point, because it's not easy to feel. Something similar from our True Mother. This is her sharing about her life with True Father. Whenever crises arose, Heavenly Parent guided us with pillars of fire and cloud. And here's another one. Although it may appear that we are about to enter an era that resembles the Dark Ages, we are actually on the threshold of a new era of peace if only we respond to God's call. So something that I get out of this is that God is with us intimately. But our response is kind of what determines our experience of it. If I can make that leap of faith and trust that God is with me, I can respond to the difficulties in a different way than if I can't find God in this moment. Everybody in this world is going to face the dark night of the soul, sometimes many times. Everybody in this world is going to face loss. Everybody in this world is going to be disappointed. But some people respond to that by pulling into themselves, right? Isolating, away from God, away from community. Some people respond by blaming, right? Because of you, this is happening to me. Or blaming themselves. Because I couldn't do this, this happened to you, and it's all my fault. And despair. Unfortunately, we all know people who live in that reality, don't we? And we also know people who have gone through the most difficult things, and we think, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could come out on the other side. I was reminded this a couple weeks ago of my cousin passed away when I was almost 18. And I was very close with her family. And I hadn't really given much thought to this for about 20 years. And then revisiting it really kind of broke open something in me that was very raw. But what was even more shocking to me was revisiting how my aunt felt when it happened. I'm just a cousin. But if a mother loses their child, it's completely different. And more than in my own sorrow, I was thinking, how is my aunt the amazing person that she is right now? She is still the most loving, still the most giving person. And when I think that, I think, I couldn't. So how do these people do it? How do people go through the worst tragedies? How do people face adversity? How do people walk through the valley of the shadow of death and come out better? These people have community. My aunt depended on everybody around her, continued talking. She didn't withdraw. She continued sharing, continued loving. And she really reached out to God. I heard it in her prayers. She reached out to touch the heart of God, and God reached back and touched her heart. These are the things that make the difference when we're faced with a fork in the road or when we're faced with our biggest challenges. And sometimes all we can do is to get through to the other side and not succumb to the worst. Sometimes that is our victory. But I would say that there's even higher levels we can get to if we are prepared for them. I am always inspired. If you ever read the speech, Challenge of Victory, this was a very famous speech that Reverend Moon gave back in the 70s, and I recommend reading the whole thing. But he really challenges us to rise to the top. He says, if your destiny is to float on the current of the Hudson River, basically he's saying, if you have to go through a challenge and you can't avoid it, you must flow as it does, right? You have to accept it. You may very possibly be like the waterfall or the water running past the rapids, but you must not become discouraged by the roughness of your course. If you are trained on this course, things to come will become easier for you to handle. If you take interest in what you're going through, and if you are thrilled to find new adventures, then when you are faced with even greater difficulties, you can tackle those with more zeal and capability. But if you are unwilling to confront the problems occurring around you and are afraid of them, then you will not be able to turn the experience into training to face new problems. Only by having gone over the rocks and waterfalls can you lead yourself to the heart of the ocean. And so sometimes I think, how do you take something that's really awful or really challenging and approach it with this kind of an attitude? I think part of it is that we shouldn't take ourselves so seriously. On the one hand, we are a product of history, and just like we were saying a couple weeks ago, I am the one to resolve the providence. But on the other hand, just let go a little bit. Because change is inevitable. Sometimes we have to just remind ourselves, change is inevitable. Overall, change is good. What would we do if we didn't have change in our lives? We would be the most bored people. We would never grow. We'd all be acting like children, right? We'd never learn lessons and get better at doing things. We'd never master a skill. We'd never experience great love in our life, because you can't get to great love without going through challenges of little love, right? So overall, change is good, but it's never comfortable. So if this is you right now, right, if you've got a pile of these stressors, of change, of new jobs, new babies, maybe you've lost a loved one, maybe your home environment's challenging you. Part of it is to put it into perspective and remember that we can't avoid change. And overall, change is good. But also, remember that it's not just you, right? We're all going through it, and you have a community that's here for you. Reach out to us, reach out to your neighbors, reach out to your friends. And most importantly, just like the song, right? As the deer, so my soul longeth after thee, because you alone are my strength and my shield. Even when it seems like maybe my community failed, when I reach out to others and I don't get the response that I want back. We need God. We need God's perspective. He has promises that he's made to us, and he encourages us, if we remember that he has. And God says, to fear not. Not that there's nothing to be afraid of, right? Not that there isn't a valley, not that there isn't a shadow, but that even in that situation, God is saying, I'm with you, and I'm going to be with you through all of it to the end. And just being able to take that perspective lifts us out of our isolation, lifts us out of an attitude of blame or despair, and can give us hope, can give us courage, can help us keep moving forward. So horizontal and vertical, right? We've got each other and we've got God. Changes will happen, and goodness will come out of it in the end. So please join me in prayer. Heavenly Parent, good morning. We thank you for such another beautiful Sunday, but even more so for all the beautiful people in this room who are sharing this time together. And God, only you know where we're at right now. Only you know what's in our hearts and the challenges that we're facing. And yet each person showed up today to look for your guidance and to look for your words. And I pray that for each of us, that you are opening the door, showing us a path forward, encouraging us with your love. And I pray that we can trust in that. God, it's hard to sometimes trust when things don't go the way we plan and we're facing something that's unfamiliar or uncomfortable and we don't know what's going to happen next. But I know that if we can step forward together with you and with each other, that we'll be much better equipped to face our challenges and to face the changes. In our reality, what we experience will be determined by how we approach, whether we go it alone or whether we go with you and with others. And so I pray that we can just continually keep reaching out to you and to others, to supporting each other, and also reaching out to give back to you. Not always just seeking for your reassurance and your love, but to also ask what we can do for you, God. How can we comfort your heart? Even if we're in the midst of our own challenges. And so we just grateful for this chance we get to spend together with you and with each other. And I offer this time and pray this in my name, Michael Adonia Hendrick, blessed and chill family. Amen and adieu. Thank you.